Hi, today we're going to be talking about boundaries. This is the second part in a series of two-part video series on the subject of boundaries. The first part, which I encourage you to take a look at, is on understanding and recognizing boundaries. Part 2 today is going to be focusing on how to effectively set boundaries. We are going to be focusing on key components of setting boundaries and what a couple of examples look like, the real secret to setting boundaries, and questions you can ask yourself when you're figuring out if someone else has crossed your boundaries. Hi, I'm Gilda from the Nonprofit Path, which is a personal development coaching practice designed to help professionals have less overwhelm, more balance by maximizing their time, energy, and resources so that they can have a greater impact on all areas of their life. How can you set yourself up for success when setting boundaries effectively? To better understand this, let's take a look at an example. So a coworker asks you for some help on a work assignment and you're already at capacity. You have your own deadlines to worry about. You really don't have the bandwidth to help out. And this coworker has helped you out in the past when you were in a pinch. So you feel really obligated that you can't say no, and you start to feel guilty. So what do? Here are some key components to effectively setting boundaries. Number 1, validate the other person and, if applicable, that other person's emotions. Number 2, address what's being asked. Number 3, propose an alternative solution that you're willing to do. And number 4, stick with that decision. So here's what that looks like. You might say to your coworker, Sally, I'd love to help you, but I'm up to here. I'm having issues with even meeting my own deadlines. And I know you've helped me in the past. I totally, really want to help you. And I promise on the next one, I can definitely pitch in. But at this point, I'm so stretched that I don't think it's going to be feasible for me. And I know you want us to work on this project together, but for now, here's where I think I can help. How about you draft an outline on the project and I can take a second look to see where anything's missing. And then as the project starts to progress, I'll be happy to be your sounding board and, at critical junctures within the project. How does that sound to you? So if Sally's wise, she would agree. If not, you might have to firmly and kindly let her know that's all you're really willing and able to do at this point. And she's more than welcome to ask other coworkers for help, or, you can again pitch in at another time, offer some other alternatives as well. Quick side note, if this happens to be your boss and not a coworker, I know that can definitely be a challenge. So one strategy that might work in this situation is to ask your boss and kind of state out or make a list of all the different projects you're working on for your boss, and make sure you briefly explain each one and say, hey, of these top 3 projects that you've tasked me with, which one is the most important, or which one should I drop? So that's going to make them come to a forced decision and kind of get you in the right direction. The secret to setting boundaries is focusing on what you can control and establishing communication around what you're willing and unwilling to do. So one good example of that would be, let's say you're getting a heated discussion with your partner or significant other, and it gets out of hand, and the way that they're speaking with you is extremely disrespectful and very triggering. And you say, this conversation is important to me and I care about you. However, when you speak with me in that tone, it makes me feel insignificant, undervalued, unappreciated, and frankly, I want to shut down. I'm not going to be continuing to engage with you in the conversation when you speak with me in that way. And when we're both calmer, we can continue the conversation. So do you see how you're not saying to your partner, don't talk to me in that way. Don't you ever talk to me in that way. You're controlling the part that you are able to. What do you do when your boundaries have been crossed? Or what if you don't even know if your boundaries have been crossed at all and you're just trying to figure that out? Well, here are some questions that can help you through that process. Number 1, what feels out of balance and why? Number 2, where do I draw the line? Number 3, what would make it right? which behavior would be acceptable to me in this situation. Or if you're not sure, think about someone you admire and ask, what would that person do? What would be acceptable to that person? How would they handle the situation? Number 4, what is the other party wanting? Number 5, what am I willing to give? Number 6, what's fair? Number 7, how can I address what both of us want in a way that's a win-win without crossing my boundaries? So encourage you to write out the answers to these questions. It'll give you a nice baseline or a guide around communicating your boundaries to the other person. And then the last question, number 8, how can I communicate this in a diplomatic way while still validating the other person and what he or she needs? If you're not used to setting boundaries, this might feel a little bit awkward, and that's okay. It's expected. And some final tips I have regarding boundaries actually comes from the author of the book I had mentioned in the first part of the Boundaries series, which is called Boundaries: When to Say Yes and How to Say No to Take Control of Your Life. So those authors recommend 2 great tips I wanted to share. One is that you should take baby steps in practicing setting boundaries, and you should also practice setting boundaries in a safe, supportive environment before trying it out on that particular person. I think that's great advice. And if you need further support or assistance in practicing this or in just figuring all of it out, I'm definitely a resource for you. And I also wanted to mention I created a new tool, simple tool. It's a 1-page tool that will help you have less overwhelm and more balance in your life. And a little bit of a warning, it could actually boost your happiness. Put it in the link below, but on my website, when you first come onto the homepage, it is a pop-up option. And you can also still get your free guide to how to focus on your priorities and other cool tools as well. This is Jilda signing off from the Nonprofit Path. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.